Hey there, tech fans. Rick here again with a few clever mounting options for your Blink outdoor cameras that I think you're going to find really helpful. Now, I love the Blink outdoor cameras because of their versatility. I can pop a couple batteries in them, mount them pretty much anywhere around my home, and capture some great footage of an area that I'd like to keep an eye on. The challenge is, mounting into your home can be a little bit tricky, and there's a lot of companies that have come out with aftermarket accessories that make mounting these cameras on your home pretty much anywhere really easy. Now, I'm going to show you 3 mounts today that I use an awful lot around my home: a standard swivel mount, which bolts to the house; a clamp mount that you can clamp pretty much anywhere to a tree branch or a pole nearby for either permanent or temporary mounting; a gutter mount, which is like the universal way to mount these cameras on your home if you have gutters; and then finally, a really clever set of mounting clips that allow you to actually put the cameras on the side of your house if you have siding without drilling any holes. So what I'll start with is the actual universal mount. Now, I like this one an awful lot. You can certainly start with just the base from the Blink camera that's included, but it gives you a little bit of adjustment, but not a ton of adjustment, and it's hard to get it pretty far away from the house. So if you're trying to point down at a pretty severe angle, this is tricky to actually get it to point down that far. So what this case does for you is a couple of things. Number one, it's got a locking collar right here that you can loosen, and when you loosen the locking collar, you can position this any way you need to get the perfect angle. You can point it completely down. You could actually point it completely up. I don't know why you'd want to do that. Or you can point it at any angle in between, and then this mounts to the wall, and you can actually, again, adjust this as necessary. What I like so much about this one too is that it actually attaches to the base with a 1/4-inch turn thread. So I can actually take this case off. Let me show you here real quick. And the actual base itself has got a 1/4-inch thread on it right there that you can use with other cameras as well. The case itself has also got a little extra bump in the back in case you're going to use like a solar panel or an external power supply to power the camera. Now, there are no holes in it, so if you want to use that, you've got to drill a small hole in the bottom and feed the cable through it. Now, to use this particular model, you pull the front off like this. There's a little clip on the bottom, and that pops out. Then you simply drop the camera down inside of it like this, and then push it all the way back to make sure it's fully seated. Now, it's kind of friction fit in there, so it's not going to actually pop out, but to make sure it stays in for good, you use this front bracketing assembly. You tuck it in there behind that little bracket on the top, and then snap it in the bottom, and you'll hear it click, and then that's in there, and it's not going to go anywhere. I also like the fact that it's got a white exterior, because if I'm mounting this up on the soffit of my house or anywhere I've got sort of white siding, it kind of blends into the siding a little bit better, so that's a really nice feature. The other thing that's cool about it too is it's got this little hood on the top of it. A lot of these are flat, which work okay because they help to protect her from the elements, but having that hood on the top acts a little bit like a baseball cap, where if the sun is directly above you, it's not going to wash out the picture across the front of that camera. So all in all, this kit is pretty straightforward, and these are available in both black and white, and I think there's actually other colors like tan if you wanted to try and match your house a little closer. But essentially, you'll mount this to the wall, you'll pop your camera inside there, and then you'll screw this base onto here, and when you get that all the way threaded up into the base, you can tighten this little collar here to hold it in position. And I've used these around my house for a couple of years, and they work really well. And this knob right here, when you loosen it, will actually allow you to make the adjustment. But when you tighten it nice and tight, this camera's not going anywhere. So it's a great little mount to use pretty much anywhere on your home. The next mount I'm going to talk about is a clamp mount, and this is my favorite mount by far because it allows me to very quickly move the camera around, because the Blink cameras are both wireless and battery powered, which means there's no cables attached to them whatsoever, and I can use them anywhere I need to around my yard or even when I'm out in the road. So what the clamp mount allows you to do is it's got a really heavy duty clamping system here, and on the inside of the jaws there are little rubber pads, so you can clamp this to your railing if you want, or you can clamp it to a pole. You're not going to scratch anything by clamping it on. My favorite place to use this is right now in the fall. We got a lot of activities with chipmunks and squirrels and deer and everything else in my backyard, so I like to clamp this to a tree branch and position it sort of the back of the area where the woods are, and I'll see all kinds of creatures sneaking out there at night, and I get some really good footage of them. And the way it works is the kit comes with 2 clamps, and it's got a bag of attachment screws, and they actually include 5 screws, which I think is really nice because they're tiny little screws, and I guarantee you're going to lose one, so having an extra one is really handy. They even include a Phillips head screwdriver, so you can attach the base that came with the camera to the clamp like I've done here, and then essentially you're just going to snap the camera on. It takes a little bit of pressure. It's a really heavy duty mount, and you hear it click on like that, and then you can clamp this to anything you want to clamp it to and position the camera as you need to capture that perfect footage. So hands down, one of my favorite mounts, and this could be a permanent mount. I've got a couple of these around my pool where they're clamped to the fence around the pool, and I leave them there year round, so it works out really well. All right, the third kind of mount I want to talk about is the gutter mount, and this is probably the easiest one for everybody to use because it's so straightforward. It's got 2 knobs in the back of it here. You'll loosen those up, and you'll drop this over the edge of your gutter. and then you'll tighten these knobs up to actually attach it to your gutter. Now what's special about this one compared to some of the ones that I've reviewed is it's got two knobs on the back. Some of the other ones have a single knob in the center, which does seem like it attaches it really well to the gutter, but the problem is over time, especially in the winter time when you get a lot of snow and rain and sleet, it'll move around a little bit, and when it moves around it's going to move the position of where the camera's looking. So you may be trying to zero in on a part of your driveway on day one, and then it gets bumped or something with the hail and the snow, and it moves over a little bit and you're missing a part of your driveway. So I like that this has got two knobs in the back. When I tighten those down, it's not going anywhere. It's also a really heavy duty mount. Some of the others I've reviewed of these were flimsy enough where if you bend them like this, you can actually bend the metal. And again, the challenge there is, even though it's not a lot of weight, the camera does have a little bit of weight to it. And over time, if this is a flimsy mount with the heat of the sun, and especially in the summers, it'll bend down and the actual view you're seeing will drop down as well. So I like the heavy duty aspects of it, and I like the two knobs. Now to use this, it couldn't be simpler. There's one knob right here for adjustment. You loosen that up a little bit, and you can point this any direction you want to. You can spin it 360 degrees this way, you can move it up and down, and once you find the perfect position, just simply tighten the knob, and that locks all three of those rotation points into position, so it's not going to move on it. That's one of the things I didn't like about one of the other mounts I tested, actually two of them. They had a bunch of knobs on there, so you had one for the circular motion this way, another one for the up and down motion. It was just a whole lot of adjustments. With this one, it's got a really nice set of ears on there, so it makes it easy to make it secure. And again, to use this one, you've got a mount on the end of this thing that, again, is on a 1/4 inch thread right here. So again, you probably can use that with other mounts for other cameras, but it comes with this really nice attachment for your blink, and you'll basically screw this onto the edge of that shaft. And once you screw it all the way down like that so it's nice and tight, you can tighten this locking collar, and it's not going to move anywhere. And then you pop it on the camera. And this one takes a lot of work because it's a really secure mount. So you're going to pop that on the back just like that, and you'll hear it pop on, and then that camera's not going anywhere. So you'll clamp this over your gutter, tighten down on those two bolts, loosen this knob right here, and then position it anywhere you need to get that perfect angle. And when you're happy with that, just tighten up that knob and it'll stay in position for you from then on. So that's a really nice little mount. And again, incredibly easy to use on your house. You can pop it on a gutter, move it around as you need to. One other thing I wanted to talk about with this gutter mount is the cameras for the Blink Outdoors are always black. And I guess that's okay, but I have a lot of white gutters around my home, and having a black camera up there really makes it stick out like a sore thumb. So I found these silicone covers that I use with most of my cameras that are on the soffit, which is white, and on my gutters, which are white as well. And essentially what this does, it's a really, like a very spongy material that you can stretch quite a bit, but it snaps back to its original form, and you'll basically take your camera and slide it inside there, just like you're putting on a pair of rubbers in the old days. I don't know if any younger viewers know what those are, but you used to put them on your shoes to protect them in the old days. Anyway, you stretch that around the outside of the camera, and what it does essentially is turn the camera white. For the most part, like 90% of it is white, which hides it a little bit if it's up against the gutter. I also like the fact that it adds a little bit of extra weatherproofing to the camera. And not that you need it, because the Blink cameras are really weatherproof on their own, but having this on the outside of it means that in the wintertime when you get hail and snow and sleet and all the rest of that stuff, it's not going to nick your camera up. And I like to take care of my stuff, so having an extra layer of protection on there is a good thing. All right, the last thing I want to talk about, which I'm really jazzed about, are these clamps. Now, these two clips don't look like much until you understand exactly what they do. The challenge I've got is my house is completely covered in vinyl siding, which a lot of homes are nowadays. And my challenge is, if I want to mount the camera on the side of my home, I've got to drill 2 holes through the siding to actually attach it to that side of the house. And the problem with that is 2 things. Number one, I'm not a huge fan of drilling through my siding into the wood to actually mount this, because over time, if the camera shakes a little bit because of the wind, I could get water inside there and cause all kinds of problems for me. So that's number one. But number two, and probably more importantly, I'm moving cameras around a lot, so I may put it up over here for a bit of time to keep track of my driveway or a section of my yard, but then decide a year later, hey, I'm going to move the camera over here. I take it off the side of the house. Now I've got 2 holes in my siding that I have to weatherproof, and then I have to look at those 2 holes forever. So I was looking for a solution that would allow me to attach it to vinyl siding and move it if I needed to without leaving any remnants of the fact that it was mounted there before. And that's exactly what these clips are designed to do. So these actually slide in at the joints between your vinyl siding. So vinyl siding comes in 10 and 12 foot strips this way, and basically clips in to the piece above it. So you'll put a piece in like this, you'll put another piece in that'll clamp on right here and another piece above it, and that's how they hold together. Well, these clamps actually slide in between those 2 pieces of siding, and then as you tighten the screw, as you tighten the base in against it, you're squeezing the siding between the clamp and the actual base. So this one's mounted on there right now. You can see how securely that's mounted on there, and if you look at the back of it, that's where the clamps are. Now, you don't see those because it's up against your house, so they're completely disappearing when you've got that second piece of siding on there, but having those clamps on the back and the base on the front, when you tighten the screws, you're squeezing that siding in between them and putting a really secure mount on there. Now, I've used that mount with cameras, I've used it with solar panels, I've used it with lights outside my house. I don't think you can hang a 50-pound weight off of it, but certainly a Blink camera or any camera, really, solar panels and some exterior lights that are light in weight, you can hang on there and you'll be in really good shape. And the beautiful part is, if I mount something over here today, and then a year later I decide, nah, I don't want to really keep track of that part of the yard anymore, I'd rather look over here, I can unscrew it, slide it out, slide it into the siding on this side of the house, tighten the screws, and I'm good to go. So really, really clever design, and these are really inexpensive. You get a kit of like 10 or 12 of them in a bag, and they just work really, really well. So that's pretty much all I had today, and again, I've got 3 mounts in front of me, the standard wall mount that's got versatility in mounting, the clamp mount that you can clamp to anything around your home to position the camera either temporarily or permanently, the gutter mount, which is like the universal product that people like to use because you got a gutter on most sides of your home, no holes to worry about there. Then finally, these universal clips, which again, I think are brilliant in the way they came up with these to mount that camera to your house without leaving any kind of marks on your house after you take it down. And that's pretty much all I had for today. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, stay nerdy.